Fallout New Vegas is one of the greatest Fallout games of all time. From the bright lights of Vegas, to the beautiful scenes of the Colorado River, to the wonderful wildlife of cazadors and deathclaws. It's a vast, beautiful wasteland, preening with life and flourishing with death. But what's the fun if you're using a gun? Can you beat Fallout New Vegas with melee weapons only? Okay, but now it's time for the rules. It's only melee weapons. If you think there's more, you're wrong. I awoke and dubbed myself Brick, because I myself am a blunt object. And after 30 minutes, I created this amalgamation of a creature. Look at him. Look at my son. God had abandoned this creation and shuddered at his sight. This game even asking me if I was sure that this was to be my character. I put a 10 in strength and endurance and a 9 in luck, and the others don't matter when you hit stuff good. I then sat on Doc's couch and answered some basic questions, taking the skills, melee weapons, medicine, and sneak, as well as the wild wasteland and heavy-handed perk. I retrieved my items and then thanked Doc Mitchell. I told Sonny to piss the off and approached Joe Cobb. The mission was simple: kill the drummer for the Beatles. I killed Ringo and stacked his head nicely on these boxes. I returned to Cobb and we started our takeover. I cut down Easy Pete, decapitated Trudy, and slaughtered Cheyenne and Sonny. I then made my way towards Primm. Brick's help was needed elsewhere. Primm was in bad shape. With a dead sheriff, it was overrun by powder gangers. The escaped convicts stood no chance as each of them were cut apart by my trusty machete. The convicts inside fared no better without their hands to hold their guns. Without their fingers, there was nothing they could do other than lay down and die. I freed Deputy Beagle and learned where the man who shot me was going. I then decided to help Primm with finding a new sheriff. Luckily, I had made some new friends with the powder gangers, so I set off for the correctional facility. I met with Myers and got him interested in the job. He wants a pardon and he'd be willing to do the job if it's done his way. I went to the NCR headquarters, killed some jackals on my way, and partied with some rad scorpions. I then paid Major Knight for a pardon and got Primm a sheriff. I was now on my way to Nipton, the last place where Benny was seen. On my way, I got slaughtered by a gang of jackals. I then came back and eviscerated them all. Then I took the perk cannibal and ate them. I then killed my favorite gambler and stuck his head in the burning tires. I then witnessed the most glorious faction ever and was told to spread the atrocities of the Legion. From there, it was on to Novac. I said hello to Baru and Owen, skipped a huge portion of the game by going through the Primm Pass, almost died, and then I saw the most beautiful sight in the distance. It's a T-Rex, signaling I'm in Novac. I killed more Vipers and talked to Manny. He wants me to clear out the old station and make his home permanent. Nah, that. I'm gonna do my own thing. By now, you can tell that Brick wants to side with the Legion. I want to see everyone kneel at my feet like the spilled Cheez-Its on my floor. I killed even more Vipers, then took a nap, killed a man, and then I went to Boulder City. I told the person at the gate that I could handle this, knowing quite well I have the personality of a wet towel and the brains of a literal brick. The Great Khans died as soon as I entered their presence, and I leveled up twice and took Bloody Mess as a perk. It was time for Brick to head to the Strip. Vegas was calling my name, and I needed to win me some money. I discovered gun runners, sold everything I could, and entered the Strip. I obliterated a thug and went to the Atomic Wrangler to try my luck. I took them to the cleaners and left a rich man. I then went back to Novac to the Repconn facility in order to try and level up before doing King's Quest. Ghouls died easy, exploding upon death, so they weren't much of an issue. I then found a rebar club and ruined a ghoul with it. I named it Smashy. Smashy was a fucking amazing weapon. Inside the facility, a man spoke to me, told me to hurry up the metal staircase, and after killing all the ghouls I could, I was then told to speak to Jason. I found Green and Ugly and listened to the Prophet. I was told to clear the demons within the basement. I used a stealth boy and found Davison. He had a problem of his own. A ghoul wants to kill them all. I opened the door and Harlan greeted me. He knew Jason, and he wasn't gonna leave quietly. I ended my conversation without setting him off and snuck my way upstairs. I then obliterated that son of a bitch. I returned to Davison and told him the bad news, and as promised, he left the facility. I told Jason the good news, and he went to the basement to the sacred site. I then stole all of their stuff. Now the real work could begin. We were getting the rockets back in order. However, they could not take Chris with them. What cowards. They were just using him. I sweet-talked the parts from Old Lady Gibson and found the isotope on Mr. Radical, and it was finally time for the launch. I went to the viewing platform and mashed all of the keys on the giant glowing thing, and I felt really good about myself. I then activated the launch button, sending my new friends to the great beyond. I reported my success to Manny and became idolized in Novac. And then I let Boone remove Janie's head. It was back to the Strip where I hired Oris and discovered his repeat killing business. I then told the king, earning his trust. But the king needed my help once more. Some of his people were attacked, and he needed answers. They heard names and a military rank, and it turns out they were attacked by the NCR. I went to Julie and learned that the NCR was handing out food to NCR citizens. Oh, and a quick segue, I grabbed Arcade as a follower because you know better healing, and I bought a chainsaw. Returning, I spoke to Elizabeth and asked about the locals getting food. I told her I knew Julie, and she opened up, telling me that the envoy she sent to the king was brutally beaten. I told King the news, and Pacer started a shootout, and I defused the situation. After that, I got my pass to the strip. I had a score to settle. Benny was in the tops. First things first, I robbed the tops blind, and then it was time for Benny.
What in the goddamn?
I stole Maria from him, and then I cut him down with a razor. I was then approached by the man himself and accepted the mark of Kazar. I traveled to Cottonwood Cove, took a boat, and met with Mr. Salad himself. He was a man who could see my expertise. My low intelligence and my brawn could be put to use. But I'm a man willing to see both sides. I decided to speak with Crocker too. I then realized how many players were in this game and decided to knock the number down one. Mr. House had to go. I stormed the tops, dismantling the Securitrons. I then opened the Scrotum's chamber and murdered him, traveling back to the fort and then destroying the bunker underneath. I returned to Caesar and was off to Nellis, still undecided about my alliances. I escaped bombardment and spoke to Mother Pearl, and began to help the boomers around Nellis. I listened to Shitwit tell his story, helped the medical bay by chopping up people, and stuck into Helios 1 and started stealing array parts. I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, activating Helios 1. Machines are trash and died like trash too. Python fixed the machine and I then blinded myself and brought the lights back on. I then left and went back to the array and repaired it. Then spoke to Mother Pearl and it was time to raise the bomber. I gave Jack a pressure cooker and set out for the lake. Attached the ballast and it was game on. That sucker floated right to the top and we were in business. I then had the boomers side with the NCR. With weighing all my options, I decided against anarchy. And this time, decided for order. Rick may look like a monster, but him am not one. I then informed Crocker of the success. I accidentally forgot to quick save and now I've got to redo all this shit, so I'll be back in like 20 minutes. It was time to end the hostilities with the Kings. Pacer had to die. I found his medical records in Old Mormon Fort. Turns out he has coronary artery disease, and Psycho mixed in his jet would kill him. So I poisoned his stash with my last dose of Psycho. I then waited a few hours, and when I turned back, he was slumped over dead. I returned to Crocker, reporting my success, and was rewarded with some payment. I was then told to report to Hoover Dam. There I spoke with Colonel Moore, and I was to deal with the Great Khans. They already hated me, so my option was kind of set. I made my way to Red Rock Canyon. However, I wasn't attacked, even though I was vilified by them. Papa Khan did not wish to hear me, and refused to give in to the NCR. I decided right then and there, they all had to die. Papa went first, then Reggie's, then the slaughter and bloodshed continued, and Brick shed a tear. Then the game broke. I couldn't continue for the Republic Part 2. So I did a console command and fixed it, and apparently now they're helping me fight. Dude, this run is so f***ed up. I then told Moore the good news. It was time to check in on the Ultralux, and bro, this shit is getting annoying. So I went to bed. Not in game, I went to bed in real life, because it was 4 a.m. and I was tired. When I woke up, I immediately got on the game and had a revelation. I wanted Arcade so I could work with the Enclave, but Brick did not wish to pay taxes anymore. So I sent Arcade home. I traveled back to the fort and told Caesar of my success. He too wanted me to go back to the Ultralux. Bro, what the f***? But before I could leave, he suffered an onset headache. I talked to the White Gloves within the Ultralux. They did not wish to join our legion, and it made Brick angry. However, Mortimer was willing to see eye to eye. First, they needed their problem fixed, because they kidnapped the wrong main course. I spoke to Ted Gunderson, and he would not comply. I loaded a save and looked around for a melee weapon, but apparently they had given me a cattle prod. I killed his son and took some blood samples to frame the father. I then snuck into their penthouse, avoiding the guards, and planted the evidence. I then found a Securitron and reported the crime. The guards then gunned down Heck Gunderson within the lobby, and I returned to Mortimer. He was pleased, and I waited for the 7 o'clock banquet. He was then able to turn the White Glove Society back to cannibalism. It was finally time to report to Majori, and they were willing to support the Legion. I went back to Caesar, but not before getting a new weapon. I added Gehenna to my arsenal. He was pleased that the White Glove Society was able to join us, and then it was, I have headaches. So I went off to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel. No wimpy shit. This was big boy pants time. I arrived at Hidden Valley, and they were waiting for me. They stormed out, and they wanted all of my gear, and for that request, they died. My game then f***ed itself, and Vats missed. However, my chainsaw did not. This took me a while as I died over and over again to the lasers. I resorted to eating my kills to nourish myself. I then used an old MittenSquad save trick and breached Night Tor's armory, killing her. The scribe room was a massacre. I then beheaded McNamara and set the bunker to explode. I was then jumped by a returning patrol, and I murdered them all. Returning to Caesar, he wanted to privately meet me in his tent. Something is wrong with him. He has a brain tumor, and I became his personal surgeon, and set out to find a bag of surgical tools, and when I found them, I returned to Caesar, performing the operation. Caesar awoke again. It was finally time. I traveled to the boomers and got a firing mechanism for our howitzer, fixed it, and went about up meeting with Cato Hostilius. I found him, and it was straight to business. Security would be tight, and I needed to figure out a way to kill the president of the NCR. Put on my disguise, and I headed for the dam. I then planted a bomb, allowing for President Kimball to give his final speech right before the fireworks went off. This fucker deserved it, with how much he decided to yap. He's been talking for 15 minutes. I then returned to Caesar, and it was time. It would be an honor to serve under the Legion. I reported to Legate Lanius. We were going to sack the dam through the forgotten tunnels. This was no attrition. It was to be a massacre, and my job was to personally kill General Lee Oliver. It was time to begin the assault. As I took the dam, there were to be no prisoners. Slaughter ensued. The heavy troopers were worth nothing. I finally found Oliver, and he was hell-bent on trying to win, fortifying all the way back to his final stand. I took it as a challenge, using the hallways to play murder maze with his troops. I took great care in murdering everyone, leaving none of them left alive. I then returned to the Legate, and we took the dam for the Legion. And I beat Fallout New Vegas, using melee weapons only. Hey guys, it's me. I just want to jump in at the end of the video and say I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really sorry about the wait for this one. I appreciate you all who are supporting me on this journey, from the kind words to the tips and to helping me find my own style. This video was a heap of work I didn't expect because of junior semester starting, as well as losing the first video before this one. Getting sick and everything else did not help, as you can hear in my voice throughout the video. But again, I want to thank you all so much for watching me and, all the support, and I will see you all again very soon. Thanks.